Are we ready for this week's Monday make? I've removed the bee, so we just have a few left over here. Let's go ahead, spin the wheel, and see what this week make is gonna be. Winner is hanger cover. This is going to be a new one for me, but I'm super excited for it. All right, so here is the pattern. It is a free pattern that you can download off of the Yarnspirations website. I will link all of that down below, but this is what the hanger cover is supposed to look like. I've read through the pattern very quickly. It is a super easy pattern. It is one page. Skill level, beginner, I tend to agree with that, but we'll see after I actually make this. It looks like we basically crochet around the entire hanger, fasten off, and then join at the bottom and create that little scalloped edge. So I'm gonna go see if I have some hangers that I can use, and then we can pick some yarn, and then I can get to making some crochet hangers. I found 3 different style hangers in my closet. So this is truly kind of a stash project. I'm going to be using yarn from my stash and hangers from my stash. The first hanger that I have is just an old wire hanger. Nothing fancy. It is rather thin, so we'll see how that works up with one of these. Next, I've got a plastic hanger. This one is similar style to the metal one. No embellishments, just a very simple plastic hanger, and it is a little bit thicker than that wire one. And finally, another plastic hanger. This one has those little loops on each side, which is more similar to the picture in the pattern. So we'll see how that works up. This one also has a little bit of a plastic rounded edge over there, so I'm not sure how that's going to work up. I may have to fiddle with the pattern on this one just a little bit because I don't think a single crochet is going to fit nicely around that particular corner. Same thing on the other side. This one does not have that, so that one should be the most easiest one to do. And this one, like I said, it's a much thinner hanger, that wire one right there. So 3 different styles of hangers. We're going to work this pattern in each of those, and I will let you know how it goes and which one that I preferred the look of and the one that was maybe the easiest or the hardest to crochet. I don't know why, but I was thinking the pattern said to use cotton. It does not necessarily say you have to use cotton. So I've got all of this yarn that I can pick from. Would you look at this mess? I need to really get in here and take care of some of this. But for now, we are here to pick some yarn. I am going to start with the thin metal or wire type hanger. And because it's blue, I'm going to stick with kind of that sort of vibe. I'm thinking of using either the basic stitch, although I really kind of like that maybe for a hat or a scarf, but that is a possibility. I've also got some of this Impeccable by Loops and Threads. This is just a nice blue color. I've got some other blues in my stash as well that I could use. I've got some True Blue Sparkle, which actually might be kind of nice. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there is a little bit of a sparkle in these yarns. So I might go with this, plus it is a little bit thinner. It's a 3-weight instead of a 4-weight. So this might work well with that wire thin hanger as well. So I've got those 2 and possibly that blue in there. I'm not going to use a cotton for this one. I do have this, which also might be really nice. So that's another option. I don't know. So many choices. I just need to pick one and start crocheting. What do we think? this yarn with this, I think it'll match up very nicely with the blue of the wire hanger. You probably won't even be able to see that it's blue underneath. So let's start crocheting some hanger covers. Here is what it's looking like so far, and well, it looks like some progress has been made. This has actually taken me quite a while. This is much more difficult to work around the wire hanger than I anticipated. There is a YouTube tutorial, which I will link below. It's part of the Crochet Crowd YouTube channel. In the video, it is recommended to start on this side, so there's no slipping of the yarn as you start to single crochet. I could not get that to work because you need your single crochet stitches to face outwards. Every time I tried to join on this side and go across, the stitches would turn and I couldn't pull them back around to face on the outside. So I scrapped that technique and just started on this side. It was very tedious, and it still is tedious even down here, although it's a little bit easier around this edge here on this turn. But all along here, the yarn keeps falling off my hook. It's kind of fiddly because you're working around this hanger. It's a different shape than, say, a hair tie, and a hair tie is elastic, so it's much easier to kind of manipulate your hook around that hair tie when you're doing scrunchies or something like that. This is a very inflexible wire hanger that you are crocheting around, and so it is much more difficult. It takes much more time than I anticipated to get around, and I've had to frog back a few stitches here and there because the tension was too loose, and so the stitches weren't falling as evenly as I would have liked. That being said, I am using a 4mm crochet hook with this thin wire hanger. In the pattern, it is recommended, I believe, a 5mm to use when crocheting around the hangers, and I will try that on my thicker plastic hangers when I get to that point. But I just wanted to let you know that if you have a smaller wire hanger and you're crocheting around, you may need to adjust your hook size. The 4mm is so far working much better than the 5mm for me on this, and I'm just going to keep working around. But I definitely like the yarn that I picked for this. You can't even see the blue hanger underneath it. Even if some of these stitches kind of open up like that, because it's a blue hanger and this yarn matches almost perfectly, it's not even going to be noticeable. Quick update on hanger number 1. Well, we finally have it finished. Let me tell you, this was not as easy as I had thought. First of all, crocheting around the wire hanger, super difficult, not easy. I have uneven stitches going around. Once you finish up here, I joined it to the other side, only to realize that some of these single crochets had wrapped around and gotten twisted. Luckily, it was only at the end here, so I pulled it out, redid a few, and joined, making sure all of my stitches were facing outward. Next, we work the scallop. That part, much easier. You're just working double crochets, creating scallops. You skip a few stitches, slip stitch, skip a few, work another scallop, and that came out really cute. So overall, this is what that blue thin wire hanger looks like. And I do really like that variegated yarn. Looks really nice. Now it's time to try out those plastic ones. Update on hanger number 2. I've picked this sort of mustardy yellow color. I also chose the hanger that has this plastic bit right at the top. That, my friends, was a pain. But otherwise, this one is working up so much quicker, so much easier than the thin wire one. I am using a 5mm crochet hook. Perfect hook size for this thicker hanger. And of course, this is just a 4-weight acrylic yarn. So I just have a little bit left before I get up to the top. I'm going to add some scallops, and then I'm going to try hanger number 3, which has the little hooks on either side, and then we'll sit down and discuss what I liked and did not like about our Mystery Monday project. Overall, a fairly simple concept. Actually, no, it is a simple concept. Single crochet around the entire hanger, join at the top, and work some scallop border on the bottom. Not hard, right? Wrong. It's a little tough. I started with this thinner blue metal wire hanger, and the 5mm crochet hook that is recommended in the pattern was not working for me. I think the wire hanger was too thin for that size hook, and this was the first time I had done it, so I was already struggling. So I moved down to a 4mm crochet hook. There is a YouTube tutorial from the Crochet Crowd that explains how to do this whole thing. I did not watch it. I saw the very beginning where it's recommended to start on one side of the hanger and then continue on the other side of where this hook is, so then the stitches won't fall down on you. But I couldn't figure that out, and I didn't actually have a problem with any of the single crochets sliding down as I was working. It was more of actually creating the single crochets that I struggled with. Once I got around, and actually these little corners on each end were so much easier than working down the sides and even on the bottom. It was just really fiddly to get a good posture when working on this, and actually by the time I was finished with the third one, I could really feel it in my shoulder. So I don't recommend making a whole bunch of these in one sitting, but I do think that they are fairly easy, or easy enough to make one here and there, and they would probably make some really great gifts. I'm thinking more along the lines of like baby gifts. So if you have a nice layette, get some baby hangers and work on a much smaller scale, and that would probably be your best bet, and it'd come out really cute. So this is the first one I did. The next one I made in this sort of mustardy yellow color, and this one was tricky at the top because there was this plastic part at the very top. So I worked like double crochets. You can see some of these stitches are a little bit taller. I could have just worked an extended single crochet, so just a single crochet, but maybe pull that loop up higher, it's fine. It's fine. I worked all the way down, and this one worked up so much faster. It was so much easier, probably in part because it was the second time I had been working this pattern, so I knew what to expect. It was a little bit easier to work around this hanger, a little bit, not a lot. I still struggled. My shoulders are very sore after this. And this one, I didn't have any issues with it twisting. On this one, by the time I got back up to the top to join, I noticed that I had kind of twisted my single crochets somewhere along the way. So I went back, made sure everything was straight where it was supposed to be, and I pulled back, frogged some, reworked a couple of single crochets, and then joined again. So you just have to be careful that you're not twisting your single crochets as you're working before you join. You want to make sure that all of those stitches are on the outside. Worked that nice scallop stitch on the bottom, and it came out really cute. So again, it's a cute idea, a cute pattern, but it's not as easy as you would think. This was my third one. Again, we have that plastic at the top, and I had a plastic piece on that corner, which was really tough. Not only that, we had these hangers on each side. That wasn't too bad. It was a little bit tricky getting my hook around in the right spot to create the single crochet around the main hanger, but it wasn't too bad. I struggled with this part right here. I did have to work some double crochets, treble crochets, not too many, but just some on the very end, which again, I could have just worked a single crochet and pulled that loop up to the length that I needed, but I kind of like having that little extra length here, that little kind of point at the ends. And actually, you're not really going to see it when you have a piece of clothing sitting on the hanger. So this one was a little bit of a struggle, but we worked with it. Again, the overall pattern is really easy. I wouldn't say that it is a beginner, because manipulating your hook and your yarn around this hanger is not easy. So here we go. 3 hanger covers, all done in 1 week. You could easily make one of these in a day. It did not take very long. In fact, I spent most of the week just on this one because it was so difficult. I didn't even want to pick it up. I finally picked it up on Saturday, and on Sunday, I finished these two in probably an hour for both. So it wasn't too time consuming. Would I make these again? Yes. However, I would limit it to when I have like a baby gift, or if I've made like a baby dress or a sweater or something. I would consider getting those little baby hangers and doing a little crocheted cover for those hangers to go along with the gift. Am I going to make any more hanger covers in this size? Probably not. It wasn't super difficult, but it also was not super enjoyable. So here we go. This week's Mystery Monday complete. 3 hanger covers. And now it's time to go pick this coming week's Mystery Monday make. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.